Welcome to TruthStream. We're here with Kevin Hoyt once again, and some lovely guests, Brad and Trisha Stair, and they've got quite a bunch of quite an assortment of topics to go over today. But why don't we start, Kevin? You can kick it off.
Well, deja vu. I just barely got off the tube with you guys. We just got done with an archery expert, Marvin Carlson, the inventor, an innovator that changed the sport of archery forever. So now we have Brad back, who is an innovator who has changed the sport of long distance marksmanship. I don't know if it's a sport, the skill, right? I don't know. I think it's a lot of fun myself. So I wanted to look at a whole bunch of things. Again, these people are involved with a lot, but we can start out with the woman's perspective on 2A and maybe how women can protect themselves. And so Brad brought his beautiful wife, Trish. And welcome to the show, guys. Thanks for coming back. Where do you want to start?
Thanks for having us.
I think we'll start with Trish, and this is her first time on our show. So
Right, 2A. You're a 2A girl, right, Trish?
Yeah.
Help us out.
I am a
here.
2A girl. I am a 2A girl. I really feel like it's important for a woman to, well, it's more important for a woman to be supportive of the Second Amendment right, just because a male is, you know, they're dominant. The males, yes, they are. Well, I was a bodybuilder, so
Yeah.
but a female is more of a target a lot of the time in a lot of crimes. And I really want to start out with just this story that is coming out of Houston, where this Vietnamese woman took $4,000 out of her bank account, and a man followed her for 26 miles. And when she got out of the public transportation or whatever it was that she was traveling in, this man followed her for 26 miles, attacked her on the sidewalk. It was caught by a video camera on a building. And he thought he had stolen the package, realized he hadn't stolen the package, went back, attacked her again, body slammed her body onto the concrete, stole the money. And this woman is now paralyzed. She's a 40-year-old single mother of 3. And it's in Houston, for crying out loud. Houston, Texas, where
The whole state.
this whole state is a right to carry state. You don't have to have a concealed carry permit. And so for this to happen in a state that is okay with everybody having a gun, it is just absolutely horrible. Now, I was a single mother for a very, very long time. And the only thing that I ever had to protect my children at that point in my life was a little can of mace. But and that's great, and it's wonderful to be able to protect yourself with that. But there's so many factors that go into having a can of mace, and a lot of it is, if first you've got to pull it, find it in your purse. And if you've ever seen a woman's purse, it's like, you know, the bottomless pit. So when you're being attacked, and when your adrenaline is just rushing through your body, and you're trying to dig in your purse for a can of mace that is the size of a lipstick tube, and you know, what if you pull out your lipstick tube and you try and squirt them? I mean, that's not going to work. So not only that, but you have to take into effect, what way is the wind blowing? Because if the wind is blowing in your face and you go and shoot that can of mace, it's going to come in your face and it's not going to do anything to that person. So yes, that's a great thing, but there's a lot of factors that you have to think of when you are in a situation and the adrenaline is pumping. You have seconds. You don't have minutes to look for a weapon or try and find something. You have mere seconds. So I feel like, as a woman, and especially I'm 4'11" and a half, and don't forget that half, because that's a lot for a 4'11" woman. Okay, so I feel like I am an easy target if someone looks at me from my stature and doesn't know my character. Okay,
Leo.
I'm a Leo. Yes, I will eat you first,
Married to
spit
Brad
you out,
Starr.
and ask questions later. So I truly believe that a concealed carry for every and any female is extremely important. But there's so many different things that a woman can do to protect herself if she's not comfortable with carrying a weapon. Now, me, on the other hand, I was all for it. I mean, that's one
I got
of the
some
reasons why
pictures. Should
why
break
I
in with
fell
some
in love
pictures?
with Brad.
Well,
That's
you
not
don't
concealed.
mention,
Yeah, that, sorry, a 50 cal is not a concealed
gonna-
carry.
This is
It-
some of
it
Brad's toys
Pretty
here.
much
that he gets
conceals
his love.
me.
There's our woman of the year right there. That is some sort of sexy, I'll tell you. You're a lucky man, Brad.
Yeah. I know.
I think you need to enlarge them, Kevin.
What's that?
I think you need to make them full screen. We're just seeing the thumbnails.
Oh, it didn't open. I can see, boy, it opened on my end. Let me see.
Yeah,
if I can-
sometimes you have to open them in advance, it seems. But I wanted to
Right.
mention that, you know, when you're digging around in a purse or something like that, I mean, this is where training really comes into effect. Whatever weapon you're going to rely on, it needs to be repeatable, because under stress, our fine motor skills are all but worthless. You know, it
Absolutely.
much
Absolutely.
larger
Yeah, that is not a concealed carry gun. Okay, so
No, but it works.
okay, I have to tell you something. Go ahead and leave this up for a second. So this was our fourth date, okay, that Brad took me to shoot this gun that's taller than me. And so Brad had told me a few things about women at shooting a 50 cal and what it will do, and that we're going to save that one for another time. But so I was so intimidated by this because I started out because he brought a whole range of guns that day. I started out shooting a 17. So from a 17 to a 50 cal in one day, that's a pretty big deal.
Wow.
So here I was trying to psych myself up. I was a little worried about it, obviously. The bullet for a 50 cal
There you
is
go.
roughly 11 inches, a foot long.
No,
It's like,
no.
how many inches is it, Brad? Come
Don't
on.
ask a guy. He's going to lie to you.
Not this story
6
here.
inches.
Oh,
Right
okay.
there.
So it's,
That's like 6 inches, right?
no, it is longer than 6 inches.
Not
Hey,
much.
oh, come on. Okay. Well, anyway, let me finish telling this story. So
Please.
here I am trying to psych myself up to shoot this gun, okay? And I'm doing the breathing, trying to get myself psyched up. And I finally get the nerve to pull the trigger. And I get this nothing.
Click.
And I'm like, what happened? What happened? And Brad's like, oh crap, the safety's still on. And I said to Brad, I'm like, oh, so now I've got to grow a whole new set of balls to shoot this gun over again, you know?
And what
there
a way
was
to
a guy
romance
with
it.
us who was
Not ready for that.
naive. I
Yeah.
mean, we're from Mormon land here, okay? So he was not ready for that, for a woman to say, oh, now I got to grow me a whole new set of balls, you know, to try and shoot this gun again. So anyway, we did end up shooting the gun. It was a lot of fun. I was expecting a lot of kick. And like I said, I'm very small.
No kick.
No kick. The muzzle brake on this thing is, you know, 6-7 inches long and
For real.
totally absorbed the whole shock of shooting this 50 cal.
Wow.
No,
Like,
we're
yeah,
talking
that was our
38
fourth
pounds or
date.
something, right?
What?
Isn't it like 38 pounds or something too? That's a
Yeah.
real heavy. Right?
That one, yes, 39 without the scope.
Yeah.
It's got a longer barrel than most Tejas.
What a
Right.
great date.
yeah, what a great
It was a
day.
great
Really,
day.
it worked.
all day.
Well,
We-
what a way to romance a woman. Like this
We
is
had
crazy.
exploding targets that he let me shoot, and
Yeah, with a 17, as soon as you pull the trigger, it explodes.
yeah,
It's so fast.
It's so
Is it
fast.
Tannerite or did you use
It's better than
Tannerite?
It's better than Tannerite. Yeah, it's the new
Oh,
stuff
wow.
that's out. Yeah.
Because I mean, with the
It doesn't set
50,
fires. It
everything
puts-
everything explodes when you hit it with a 50.
This is just powder. Well,
Right.
no,
We shot it with a 17.
We shot it with a 17.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
no,
a
that's
little bit smaller.
But it puts fires out. That's what I like about this stuff.
nice.
Tannerite starts fires. this stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I
and
don't know
I
what it was. I didn't even have time to lift my head from looking, through the sight to shoot this. It had already exploded by the time
Yeah.
I lifted my head. That's how fast his bullets go.
That's
Well,
a
and these guys-
221 case, neck down to 17. The bottoms of the cases don't mean anything over here. I change it
Right.
all up. That's a 177 bullet going 42 to 4,300 feet per second.
Right, it's a
Wow.
little tiny one.
And
what I
you
found
cannot
interesting-
fathom it unless you've actually shot it, because your mind can't compute that kind of speed unless you actually have shot.
And I've
This
got
gun.
some 18 grain bullets, solids, they go 5,100. And what happens is if you're shooting a Coke can or Tannerite, it blows up. Then you hear the muzzle and your brain's like, no, that can't be. Yeah.
Yeah, because it explodes before the sound hits you, which is right
Yes.
next to you.
From
But
your
look at how
muzzle.
much this thing is neck down. And one thing I found interesting that surprised me, to be honest, is the length of the projectile. It's really, really long,
Yeah.
right? But that's part of the flight path, correct?
Yes, that's for a very low drag.
That's your
As long as-
design also,
You're really small right now.
Oh,
Not
yeah, this
only are
is his
we-
invention.
his invention. Again, these are the
Yes.
innovators. There's
These
what
are
a 50
copyrighted.
Before we move
That's-
on, the
That's the
17
408
was the 17
what-
fired from a handgun or from a rifle?
rifle,
Okay.
Yeah, the 17 was a rifle.
18-inch barrels all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
fast. Oh my gosh.
That's a
fast.
really unusual cartridge for sure.
Oh, yeah.
all
I've
of
got
them are pretty
260
crazy.
of them.
This 408,
Yeah, that's the
the
that's
408.
what broke the world record.
Right.
Wow. Okay.
And then this, of course, is a pistol round, but you can tell by my pinky there. I
Yes.
bet that's got a little bit of recoil.
It is no fun whatsoever, but I had to do it. It's a Texas thing. I had to build the
Texas,
biggest.
everything's bigger. You needed the biggest, huh?
I had to
And
do
I
then
had-
it.
it's on- This
I
is
have
on the
questions
barrel.
about that one. What did you say that was again?
It's a 50 Tejas.
Okay, it is a 50. Okay, I thought it was a 50.
And I
Yeah.
had sent pictures of the guns. I make a 5-shot cylinder on a Ruger. We'll get all the pictures to you later, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see
it's
it.
in a 5-shot handgun.
Right, and again, this is on the barrel
Oh,
of that. I think
actually-
that was the 50 or the 408.
That's the 408.
Yeah.
Love
Okay.
it.
that.
Love
I
it.
don't know if you can see it.
That's a Glock.
Oh, is this the Glock? This isn't your 50 cal? This is on
An
my
850
phone.
cal.
This
Yeah.
is what people see when they open my phone.
Who's
Wow.
that? That's my husband. Looking over my shoulder.
Well, and you can see just how some of these casings are neck down. And again, this one here that's the 22 Tejas, right? I bet that's a
Yes.
deer killing. What's that, a 2-mile gun?
Easy 2 miles. We're killing
Yeah.
coyotes at 1.5 miles with it.
Wow.
And again, this isn't like your normal 22, right? Normal 22, people know what a 22 looks like, even the 22 long rifle.
No,
It's
yeah, it's
just
not
the
rimfire.
diameter this is the diameter that's 22, but look at the amount of powder in that. When you get up into this, like, look at this thing.
Yeah.
Or any of them. It's really insane. I think this is the 6mm, or the case says 6mm, right?
No, the second one is a 6.
This one?
Yeah, that's the 6BR. It actually is outrunning your 243.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And again, 243 is a 1,000-yard gun, easy. And that used to be long for me,
It
Brad.
still
That's
is.
what I used to, it's still long for me, to be honest.
No, it's
so I
still
can't imagine-
long for a lot of people.
You're talking about a mile and it's incredible. And this is the 408 right here that we're seeing. And of course,
Yes.
this is your typical 50, which I believe is 7.5 inches. Going by memory.
Okay, well, I'm small, so it just felt bigger. I don't know.
That's a straighter case and a 45-degree shoulder. It holds 90 grains more powder than a regular 50 cal.
Wow. So that's, again, your invention, and that's how we're reaching out there and talking about shooting miles instead of yards.
Right.
Crazy. But I don't know, what are we looking at here? Is that just the barrel?
That's the muzzle brake on the 408.
Yeah, it's pretty cool looking
Wow.
too. And I think that's all that I downloaded really quick. We were in a,
Yeah,
Kind of
there's
a-
a target we wanted to show you that Trish did. So we'll circle back to that. You need to do more of this
yeah,
other stuff they can carry.
she's a marksman too. Well, I'll tell you, in my experience, and again, I spent a lifetime training kids, specifically young people, right? But hunters of all ages, kids of all ages, and women are better. Do I say that out loud? Shh,
Do you
guys.
want to know why?
Let's hear it.
Well, they have
You wanna
know
soft
why?
fingertips.
I
They
told
have
her.
better form.
No,
Go ahead.
Okay, so when Brad teaches a female, and he told me, he's like, I like teaching females better. And I'm thinking, well, yeah, of course you do. But there's a reason. There's a reason. Because women go in there with nothing. We have no knowledge of how to shoot a gun. Okay. I mean, yes, there are some women, but the majority of women are like sponges.
they want to
And
learn.
so they're going to listen to everything that he says, and they listen louder than men. Men go in there, oh,
That's my saying.
I know how to shoot a gun.
Listen louder. is my
So
saying.
yeah, listen louder. I hear it all the time. So when he tells a female what to do, they're going to actually do what he tells them how to do or what to do. So he started me off with shooting a 25-yard target. And so here's the thing with me. I'm left-handed, but I'm ambidextrous. So I'm right eye dominant. So I shoot my rifle with my right hand. And when he got me my Ruger, I was trying to shoot with my right hand because I shoot my rifle with my right hand, and it wasn't working. I was just
We had to
not-
figure out what eye dominant she was.
well, it didn't matter. I shoot my pistol, I shoot my Ruger with my left hand, and I'm more accurate with my left hand, but I shoot my rifle with my right hand because I'm right eye dominant. And because Brad has taught me, I know exactly how to point. I know exactly how to line up the target, and I shoot, and it's dead on. He bought me a bouncing target, and all I have to do is do exactly what Brad told me, and every time that thing's bouncing, bouncing, bouncing. So we went to this was again when the first year that we were dating. And Brad was with that naughty company, Cross Canyon Arms, and they were involved in rifle golf. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of rifle
It's a
golf.
Utah thing. It's pretty cool.
Okay,
Go
Let's
around.
hear about
Yeah,
it.
it sounds cool.
Let's hear about it.
it's kind of cool. So what they do is they actually have this target range set up, and
Just like playing golf.
Okay, but you have to run.
No, this was different. That was the competition. That is not rifle golf.
Okay, but so we were at this competition. Let me tell the story.
Okay.
So we're at this competition,
Very-
and it's the middle of August, okay? And I'm freezing to death. So it's northern Utah. The wind is blowing. It's freezing cold. I'm freezing my butt off. And there was 23 or 24 couples. So it's
Teams.
it's a two-person team. And so they have to actually run to each hole, so to
Golf
speak,
hole,
to
yeah.
each target. And then they have to shoot 3 or 4 targets, and
At all different
And-
ranges.
all different. So you're doing all different, either east, west, north, or south. And then you have elevations that you're changing. Okay. So they have to really know their gun. They have to know the data. They have to know the dope. They have to know how to for the windage. They have to know to adjust for the windage. Okay. So they really have to not only be physically fit, but they have to be able to do all these different calculations. Okay, you need to help fill in faster when we're speaking here. So anyway, one of the teams, the guy was shooting a gun that Brad had built. It was a Tejas rifle. Now, the prize for first place was a Tejas rifle, but there was also a team from Cross Canyon Arms that was shooting a Tejas rifle. So
Yeah, this was a side deal. They had that competition going. Then they just had a deal at the rifle range, the shooting range,
right.
for a camera system.
Okay, so here's the thing. So these people had
Yeah,
been shooting
all day.
all day long, and these are professional shooters. And at the end of the day, they had a competition for a camera system that the
Shows the
camera
target.
would show the target, okay, downrange, but then it had a computer up where the person was shooting, and it would show automatically where your bullet hit on that target.
This is 500 yards away.
Okay, so
Wow.
it was a 500-yard shot. I had never shot anything 500 yards before,
Or even
but-
that rifle.
or even this rifle. So it was a 6.5 284 rifle. Brad calls it his money gun. And he'd bragged about it and bragged about it. Well, it was only one shot. You could only take one shot. Well, Brad hadn't shot this gun in 4 years.
And at a different range. So I had no zero.
So he had no zeros.
And they wouldn't let me zero.
They wouldn't let him.
It's like,
zero.
hey, okay.
Plus it's a cold bore.
Well, this is what happened.
Okay.
She was new to this. I said, okay, look, later you're going to learn that I'm using you today because I've oiled the bore and it's a cold bore. So I've got to get the oil out and kind of warm it up so that I can make a shot. So here you go.
It's all that a hustle in old school. You
So-
know what I think's fascinating now is, again, back to the idea of women shooting. It's fun and it's not, I mean, just the competition part, whether it's you and your boyfriend shooting at a range or a competition. You don't have to be big or strong or super athletic. You
Oh, no.
definitely don't have to be a boy to shoot a gun. And I'm impressed with that. And you guys are actually designed, God designed you better. Your fingertips are actually more sensitive. Like that's why a lot of women are used for pool tables to put the felt down, because you have that. And form wise, like men, you know, we got these big beer bellies that we stick out. We have horrible form. Patience, women obviously better than men. And I think you nailed it right off the top with the fact that you listen. When I'm teaching little girls how to hunt
it
or
had a-
something,
This
They
this
listen.
rifle has a 6-ounce trigger. So you
Yeah.
do have to sneak up on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very, very light.
That's
So
so
here I
light.
am. I've never shot this gun before, and I've never shot prone before. Never. And so 500 yards, which, you know,
well, yeah.
for somebody who doesn't know, that's 5 football field lengths. I didn't know because I'd never shot that distance before.
25 power scope though, brought it closer.
Yes, he did. So I'm laying on the ground. I'm freezing to death in the middle of August. I'm covered in dirt because we've been out in the dust all day long. And I pull the trigger and I make this shot. And I automatically look over, you know, get up and I look at the camera and I'm like, oh gal, you know, I was shooting right for the center. I had it in my sights. I had that trigger hair, you know, right on the center. But I
1 inch
I
left.
didn't know that Brad,
Yeah.
I didn't know what it meant that it was a cold bore shot and hadn't been zeroed.
And the
So
oil. Mainly.
anyway, it was still a kill shot.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I had done. I didn't know. I had no clue. And everybody's going like, oh my gosh, what did she
Wow.
just do?
Yeah.
And some of the other people from Cross
other
Canyon
place.
Arms shot for that target and didn't even hit the target.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Understandable
that
at that
made them-
range.
that made them very, very angry. And after I had shot, his boss and the boss's wife that were professionals, they said, no, we've changed our mind. We're not going to shoot. And so I
And I did
didn't even know what I'd done. And Brad told me, he's like, you just killed a person from 500 yards. You know, that's a kill shot, even though you didn't get up. So I was 1 inch over and 5 inches up. So I told Brad, look, if you shoot 5 inches down and 1 inch over, you'll hit dead center. So
And I did.
he did.
It's still
But
oil.
if-
It still had an oil bore. It's 1 inch up, 1 inch left.
If you look on that picture of me with pointing to my shot on the target, you can look 2 inches up from center and he is dead center. He's just 2 inches up. That was Brad's shot on that target. But here's the thing, the guy who won that day was the guy who was shooting
My God.
Brad's gun, plus he won another of Brad's guns. So that was just, I mean, this is just some of the most amazing dates that I've ever been on, even though you know, I froze to death and I don't like that. Oh, and I scraped my elbow,
Yeah.
which
Oh,
really,
tick.
really made me mad. Scraping my elbow after shooting that gun, laying prone on the ground.
I've
So,
always said that's the best part of the hunt is the tick checks afterwards. You got to tick check your partners, right?
That's
So
the
I
best
love-
part, huh, Kevin?
That's the best part afterwards. You invite your partner in to look. But no, again, I don't know. You guys tell me as far as that dating relationship, Trish, because this is all new to you. It must have been really exciting. I know, I mean, a lot of the people that I, you know, romantically that I date with, they don't have anything, no knowledge like you're talking about, but I get a lot of enjoyment about sharing my passion and that with them. And then I think it's fun for you guys, obviously, right?
well,
And
it
the
is.
people she's met too.
Well, yeah, I've met some very incredible people that Brad is involved with.
Yeah.
The one going back to the females being able to defend themselves. One of my favorite, well, the only saying is I would rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Right.
And that goes back to that woman who is paralyzed for life now because she needed it and didn't have it. Now, and I'm not bagging on her. I'm not trying to, you know, oh, shame on her, whatever. I'm not like that. I just am trying to point out that circumstances happen every day that women really need to be able to defend themselves. So we've got a couple of things here. So this is one of the first things that Brad gave me, and you can wear it under your clothing
On your shirt.
and reach up under your shirt and here's a knife, and it's a concealed weapon. Nobody's going to know that you're wearing this, and very easy to just pull out. And if you're being attacked and you know that guy's neck is right there, I mean, yeah, I know it's a horrible thing to think about, but his jugular is within reach. Okay, so I know it's a horrible circumstance, but
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Not as horrible as being dead.
things that
Right.
people- well, yeah, do you want to live through it, or do you want to, you know, do you want to suffer the consequences? Another thing that he gave me, I had to
Charge it.
I've got to go get it so I can charge it up, but I've got to show you this because it's super cool.
Yeah. And we got her a concealed carry purse, and she knows how to shoot right through it. So she's actually faster than I can be.
That's
And either that, I'm right there with it. If she doesn't get it, my hand's in that purse.
Okay, so when we went to DC,
We couldn't carry.
and you can't carry in DC, so we, but this was back when the Black Lives Matter was really big. So
Just
I
started.
was nervous. I was scared to death. So this is just
Flashlight.
a flashlight. Okay, flashlight. You can take it on a walk with you, whatever. But the great thing about this is it is also, if you push it one more thing, and you've got a little button here on the bottom, and you can zap that person. Now this is all fine and dandy, and it's great. And these things are like $22. Okay, but it's a perfect weapon for someone who doesn't want to
For schools.
carry a weapon, you know, carry a gun or whatever. The problem with this is you have to be up close and personal to use it.
How close?
Now, me on the
That's
other
something.
hand,
It's got to be on him. And
Yeah,
you
it-
just stay on him.
it's
Oh.
not on,
Made
but
him
you
quit.
have to be
Loaded.
I was
touching, you have
waiting.
to be touching this guy, okay? You have to be within touching distance.
It's not like a taser where you can be.
Come on, show us though.
No,
show
it's
us.
not
Let's
gonna,
get
it's not going
Yeah,
to
it
shoot
is.
anything out. So it's got these little,
Prongs.
oh, you can't see it right there. It's
Prongs.
got these little prongs right here,
Yeah.
that zap you, okay? So not only do you have to remember to keep this charged, but you have to be within touching distance to be able to use it. So I had my concealed carry permit before I met Brad. Me and my kids all got our concealed carry permits, but none of us actually went out and bought a gun. And so one time we were down at SHOT Show, and you know, Brad's having me try out all of these all of these guns and everything. And I didn't like the one with the slide.
Yeah, the
Tell me-
semi-autos.
Okay, I don't know what they are. I know how to shoot them. I don't know what they're called. I know mine is a 38. So the first thing that Brad asked me was, do you want to tickle them or do you want to put them down? And I was like, okay, well, if I tickle them, then they can come back and sue me, right? So obviously I'm going to put them down. So he bought me a 38. And so my 38,
Yeah.
and it has a hollow point.
Yeah, it's a
bullets
plus
in
P.
it.
It's almost a
But
357.
They, back in the day when they came out with concealed carry purses, they were only for right-handers. Okay. So now they have for
Right-handed.
left and right, and you have a zipper on the back of your purse on either side of your purse. So all you have to do is
Stick your hand on it.
stick your hand in your purse. Nobody knows what you're doing. And if you have to, and somebody's coming up behind you, you can shoot right through your purse and shoot the person that, you know, if they come up behind you and have their arm across your neck. I mean, it's just so much more convenient. And not only with a gun, you can be at a distance. You don't have to be up close and personal. I mean, heaven forbid you're ever in these situations. Another thing that Brad was telling me about, that I was blown away when he told me about it. But for females that are, if you're going cross country by yourself or, you know, with a couple of friends or whatever, have a can of wasp spray in your vehicle, because that thing is meant to shoot 30 feet.
Yeah.
And believe me, they're going to be incapacitated. So there's so many things that a female can have, not necessarily on her person, but in the vehicle with her. But for it to be useful, A, you have to be ready for it. B, you have to remember your adrenaline is going to be kicking in, and you have to be able to think clearly in these situations. So not only do you have to practice, okay, even with a can of wasp spray, you have to practice. You have to put yourself in a situation so you can practice using, whether it's the flashlight or whether it's, you know, the concealed knife. Sorry, my leg is shaking.
You know, one thing that I really like for ladies is, you know, they make these chopsticks that have like a knurled grip in the center, but it's just like a stainless steel or metal chopstick. You can hold your bun in your hair.
Wrap up their hair and stick in their hair.
And then, right, and that'll work. Or, you know, when I can't have a gun or a knife,
Now, we were going to talk about pens.
this pen works really, really well. It's it's metal and it's knurled, so it's really,
No, she's got
as
one in
I
the
drop
car.
it, good to hang on to. But it also has a tip for breaking glass. So if you get trapped in a
Yes.
vehicle, or you need to get someone out of a vehicle who is trapped,
And
good way to go.
anybody that drives a Tesla now,
Right.
because these batteries are now exploding.
And there's no mechanical door locks or windows.
Yeah, they need
No
to
latches.
have those
No,
to be
nothing
able to
mechanical.
get out of their vehicles, to, you know, because
Yeah.
if your car's on fire and you're stuck inside, that's the reason Brad started carrying one of those, is because a
I
friend
rolled
of
up-
his daughter.
I rolled up on two girls burning in her car and I couldn't break the window. Couldn't do it. As a friend of mine's daughter was one of them. So from that point on, I carried one of those, and I carry them everywhere.
Yeah.
It's just that alone. That's 45 years ago, but I still see it today.
Oh, good God.
Yeah. But
No,
that's
that's
one of the main reasons I carry it.
Just don't try to bring
Especially-
one of those pens on a plane, and especially in
do.
the state of Utah.
I do.
You do? I got
I
I
mine.
do.
have as well, but he got his
I got
taken
mine
by
confiscated,
TSA.
but I was fine in LA. I was fine in
It depends on the airport.
it's
It
Utah.
depends
You
on
just-
the airport.
I put it in my carry-on briefcase with other pens next to it.
Yeah.
Okay. And knock on wood, it doesn't matter because I've got 3 in my packed luggage. I'm going to have one,
Okay.
Mhm.
but I do have it. I do not carry it on me. I carry it in that briefcase, and I've had no trouble. And the minute I'm on the plane, it's back in my pocket.
And they're only like $8.
Yeah,
And they're a great
It's the
pen.
tungsten. It should be a little more if it's got the tungsten tip.
Well, no, I just
Okay.
looked it up on Amazon. It was
Oh,
great.
awesome.
Yeah, just so
Yeah.
people know. Well, I
Yeah.
know, speaking of Utah, that was another topic that we might want to be going into
Yep.
at some point on the show. Right,
Right,
Kevin?
we're talking about the shooting.
Oh,
Again, there's a whole bunch of different things going on in Utah. In fact, these guys, they have a son that's wrapped up in the middle of some stuff, but we were talking about a Utah shooting. And interesting enough, it's the live life claim where you reclaim your name and try to go after sovereignty. And this young man, I guess he was a law student, right? Brad knows
Yeah.
a little
Just
bit about it.
He
graduated.
just graduated. Yeah.
Just graduated, and
that's
they
hard.
pulled this kid over for basically for having an unregistered vehicle, right? And he was, he was educated. He was a law student. So he said, "Hey, I don't need a license. I don't need to show you. I don't need to answer questions." Now it's a little different in Utah because they're a show me your papers state. They have a law that says when they asked if you're detained, and they said to the kid he was detained. So technically he had to show him his papers. He shows him a passport. And, long and short of the story, or short of the story is they end up shooting this kid to death, law
12
enforcement,
times.
for having an
12 times.
unregistered vehicle, right? And I chuckle because I gotta laugh instead of cry there. There's some serious problems going on in the state of Utah as far as police abuse and I back the blue. I'm gonna tell everybody, I can't imagine being
Yeah.
an officer. Every time
Yeah.
you come up to the car, you're putting your life on the line. We need good guys. There are superheroes. I'd actually give them more money because I believe in better equipment and training. But at the same time, this, in my opinion, when I looked at that video, it was a straight up murder. Do you know what town that was in, Brad?
Farmington. It's exactly a
Davis
mile.
County.
Yeah, it's Davis County. It's Farmington, Utah.
And what about the case that was not in the news that might be good for the listeners to know? Do you guys have any insight on that? Like maybe the location of the gun or the history that the family might have had or anything like that?
Yeah. The mother had already been in that court, in Farmington court, and going against the judge for Black's law, doing everything correct, and he ignores it. And the same thing, the kid did show the passport, and that passport is done correctly, and it says do not detain. It says do not detain. But at that point, that's his choice. He should have just gone for the ride. But yeah, they had history. They knew this kid.
Well, that
And it was-
officer said it was a fake passport when he read that. So he
Yeah,
assumed
but
that
the
it
thing
was,
is, he
it
didn't go
wasn't.
run it. Yeah, he didn't go run it.
Yeah.
If he had run it, he would have had to let him go.
Yeah.
Because the kid responded there too. He said, "Is this your name, Kevin Michael Hoyt?" And the kid was like, "Well, no, that's on a piece of paper. That's not." Also, I'm holding the fraudulent passport. So at this point, they were going back, and I think Brad, from the victim standpoint, the young man, what he should have done is he should have, you can't escape the ride, but you beat the rap in the end of it. You go into that type of law enforcement, again, they don't know the law half the time, these cops. So they're doing their job. You got to take the ride. And when you get to court, you're going to beat it. Your day's still going to suck, but you're not going to end up dead in your front seat.
Right.
Like they murdered this kid over not having a registered vehicle. People should be like, there's a problem there. There's a problem there.
Where if it matters,
allegedly-
where was the gun that the kid had? I don't know if that matters or not. I'm not
It was
familiar.
on the floor on the
Here's the thing.
passenger side.
Yeah, here's the thing real quick that I tell everybody when they're watching the news. The first picture you see is always the truth. Okay. I'm going to go back to Sandy Hook just for 1 second. When they opened the trunk of that car and you saw the AR-15, it was in the trunk the entire time. It was never taken out of the car. They showed that picture and that picture's never come back up. Same thing here. The only picture that I had seen before any other thing happened, it was on the floorboard of the passenger side. Later, when an officer comes back up, it's somehow on the driver's side. So
That's a typical, just sprinkle a little cocaine on them and it's a done deal. We're out of here. No, that's
that's just what we saw.
When I saw the video, I can see clearly that he has his phone in his right hand. And I don't know if he's
Yes.
right-handed or left hand, but this hand seemed up, especially if it was on the passenger side or even if it was on the floor. The idea that he was going to go for a gun was.
He had to
sounds
take his
insane.
seatbelt off for them to pull him out.
Well,
Mhm.
and they said, again, they just started yelling gun, gun. I never saw a gun in the body cam footage I saw.
No.
No.
I saw him shoot a kid. What did you say, 12 times, Trish?
Yeah, 12
At
times.
least.
Well, Kevin, you
Sure.
said back the blue, and I'd love to say that myself. I know a lot of great law enforcement officers, but the problem with law enforcement is kind of like the problem we have in politics. It gives you power over people, so it's going to attract people that are craving power over people, and those tend to be the worst kinds of people. And I don't know if there's any kind of approach that we can take in the future to attract, folks that don't have that sensibility about them,
Right now,
because it's a problem. It's a real
I
and
think
and if they're there to enforce law, they need to understand the law. They
Yes.
and they need to be trained in the law. These are
Training
some officers
is the
do
key.
not know. Yeah.
Well, there's a
Train-
couple different things you said there. First of all, the police department is the municipality, period. So when you sue your police department, you're suing your town, right? Your city, whoever it is. It's the same thing. We got a judge here. So we have a mother that was going against the city, against the judge, right? And then they have the dogs. That's who the judge's dogs are, is your game wardens, in my experience, or in your law enforcement, or whoever it is. They send the dogs in. And the cops, unfortunately, are pinched. Because a lot of times, like they gave me a no trespass order for my town office, for my town meeting, my local, obviously, it's my meeting, it's public, I have the right to be there. It's illegal. So I went down and bitched, but the cops are pinched now. Do they support, the oath and their people, or do they support literally their job and what their boss is telling them to do? And that's a tough place for officers to be. But that's where our top tier of officials failed us, miserable. They had one job, it was to protect us. They failed. So the next tier, which is our doctors, our law enforcement, those type situations, I hope to God a few of them step up. And we were watching a few doctors step up now. We need some of these insider of law enforcement. The RICO investigation here in Vermont, a lot of insiders are the ones that are actually now talking. I mean, I found out a lot of stuff as a deer hunter, just lived here my whole life and I knew, right? But the police officers that are in that department, they knew. If I'm a deer hunter and I found out, they're officers, they know what we're talking about. But that's a hard place for them to be in, and I feel for them. Like I said, they really have a tough decision ahead of them, and I hope a few of them step up and help the people. And I think that's changing now. The tides, I think people are stepping forward all over, and I'm proud of those people. Like these guys, even coming out and sharing these stories, you're talking about it. You're talking about women in general, and with the crime rates skyrocketing, let's have some more gun control. The more gun control, the higher the crime rates go. I can't imagine being a woman. I have a hard enough time being a man, hard time, right? Vermont State, I never imagined. There's been some situations now where I'm a little nervous. Certain people coming down the street at me or this dark alley. I never felt that before in Vermont until now. And it's
Right.
this is, pick your city. This is
I'm
happening
hearing it
everywhere.
locally. Yeah.
And it's not guns that kill people. It's people kill people, specifically men. And most of their victims are women. And if you look at gun rates, and this is so important, all the people who are advocating for gun control, you're advocating for higher crime rates. It's not even a guess. Every time, anywhere in the world we pass gun control, it goes up. But
Yes.
again, we have roughly 32,000 gun deaths in the United States. This is just deaths that we're talking about, right? So 32,000 people lose their lives to guns every year. That's all accidents, all hunting, all homicides, everything you can think of, gun deaths. 22,000 of them are suicides. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, those people are going to do something regardless, in my opinion. You can't blame the gun for that one. So 10,000 deaths a year. You guys watch the news. We're just talking about law enforcement shooting people. That's a gun death too. That innocent kid we talked about, he goes into a statistic somewhere. So that's a hard number to pin down. But we're talking about 10,000 deaths a year. So let's cut it in half and say that half of those people were bad guys getting shot by police or law-abiding citizens defending themselves. So we have 5,000 homicides or accidents a year, which is remarkable considering we got 300 million guns and a half a trillion rounds of ammunition. And in that same time period, those 5,000 deaths, the cross weight is they stopped 3 million violent crimes. So if you take away that gun piece, those 3 million crimes, that they stop, they become real rapes and murders and homicides too. It's
Yes.
just they do it with a knife instead. They compare us to Japan a lot because Japan has no guns. First of all, Japan has never had any guns, and they're a little tiny island and it's controlled population. They still have murder in Japan. They have mass stabbings, right? The Roman Empire was talking about assault weapon bans, and they were talking about swords and spears. It
Right.
doesn't work, and it doesn't matter.
Japan has an honor culture, though. That's a really important distinction. It's kind of a
Yes.
rarity. We don't have that kind of cultural climate here. But the big
Right.
thing about gun control is really, you're talking about, and gun control to me is grip, stance, and trigger discipline. But
Your
when you're
target.
talking about anti-gun legislation, you're talking about making laws to curb criminals. The very definition of a criminal is someone who's ignoring the law. So
Exactly.
the notion that you're going to impose a new law that's going to somehow affect these people that are by definition going to ignore these laws, it's absurd. It's absolutely
is.
absurd. All you're doing is making more victims. That's all you're doing.
And the presence
Yeah.
of it alone is enough. Here in Vermont State, 86% of homes have guns in them. 86%. So even if you're the 15% that doesn't have a gun, you're safer because I do. Because when a
Exactly.
criminal starts
Right.
picking states, man, you don't want to come to Vermont. I'll tell all the criminals that are watching, it's a bad state, man. Our men, women, and children all have guns. We all know how to use them. And the same thing, like, you never hear about an NRA convention or a police convention getting shot up. It's always a soft target. It's always a school or a movie theater or a rock concert. That's on purpose, right?
Of course it is.
Few of those people. I mean, I believe in trained, responsible gun ownership. And that's a pretty easy thing to come by. And if I get my way, it actually would be mandated. I think it should be standard curriculum, whether you hunt
Yes.
or own a gun, personal decision. But I want you to understand, again, it's designed to kill people and it's very good at it. So you don't have to fear it, but you have to understand it and respect it, and be responsible with it. That's pretty simple. So guns in the hands of innocent people, honest people save lives and property, period. There's no argument, period. It just
Absolutely.
is.
Yeah, and the other side of that, these gun laws, none of them are legal. You cannot
Right.
write laws against the constitutional right. You can't do it. They're not, they will not stand if any attorney ever would
Presses on
speak up.
people. Yeah.
Shall
Yeah.
not be infringed is pretty
Right.
pretty plain language,
And-
isn't it?
Crystal
Yeah.
clear to me. 27 families in Vermont, 27 individuals have already had their Second Amendment removed because of red flag laws. So that's
Yeah,
when
it's
you're punished,
constitutional.
not based on your actions, but based on someone else's fear. And I personally, I like due process. I like innocent until proven guilty, and I like the whole system.
Does that even
that we're
exist
supposed
in
to have.
America anymore? I don't think it exists
It
in America.
doesn't. Well, and we're watching that crash though, aren't we? And again, when you get into, Kelly Christian Brown and the injustice system, and you can't even have your own attorney, it's got to be part of their bar system. And we're watching them kick the can down the road. And there's so much going on there. But in my town alone, like Judge Mook, Judge Colvin, Judge Scanlon, Judge Cohen, Judge Suntag, Judge Carzones, and there's another one in there. There's 7 judges, my local state prosecutor, my attorney general. That system is gone. I can't get into my court right now. Even if I've been charged with something, I can't go to court. I need permission because there's not any court anymore. That court is
Right.
going, man. What's left of it is, I think that's what is being exposed. Even the Supreme Court of the United States of America. Who elected them again? Maybe people should look that up.
Right.
They don't have any jurisdiction over any of us. None of them do. It's that corporate government, part of the slave system. And again, this is all connected. The prison system, for-profit prison system, police system, the slave system, banking. It's all, judicial is banking, period. It's another way to human traffic us and our children.
Yeah.
It's a horrible world that we're living in, but we've been living in this world our whole lives. The cool part is we never knew it. Now we know it. Therefore, we're going to change it. I'm going to change it. You guys are changing it.
Yeah,
We're
we
the
are.
ones.
Well,
Yeah,
and I
well,
do want to hear the story of the current situation that's going on with this lovely family that we have on here more.
Right. Trish
Kelly
is
Christian.
just, yeah, Kelly just called. She's answering real quick. She'll be right back
Oh,
up.
God.
No,
Well,
it's
do you,
okay.
Well, Brad,
just
you
That's
call.
good timing.
Yeah.
so I mean, we established that the Second Amendment overrides any of these laws, and yet you know, you're liable to run afoul of any of them and have problems. What is the overall solution? Just to honor the Constitution and get rid of the
Yeah.
FFL and all the, you know, all of that stuff?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've got the FFLs, but still, it's not that. We need some of these attorneys and judges to step up to the plate and just strike them down.
I meant to say
And
NFA, not FFL. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, not a firearms agency.
Right.
And how about we enforce some of these laws? How about
Yes.
the guy that, you know,
That would help.
that robs and, you know, commits armed robbery for the 15th time. He had a rough childhood and we feel sorry for him. He's out, you know, they want to put me in jail for 3 years for picking up a dead deer skull. Or in this case, reporting crimes of, you know, by our officials is now a crime. I have a warrant for my arrest.
Yeah,
But-
shame on you for being exposing
Well,
that.
and, but the guy that had 700 bags of heroin, he's out, you know, he got caught yesterday. He's out today. We have a crossbow murderer walking around my town. The guy killed his girlfriend with a crossbow, seen leaving, you know, trying to leave with they ruled it a suicide. She shot herself in the back with a crossbow. The guy's walking around. But yeah,
How is
here
that
we-
possible?
We need to call Guinness on that one. But
and it's
yeah.
like the Clinton, you get double head tap in the back of the head with 2 different calibers and it's a suicide, right?
Yeah.
And that's the, you know, what these guys are touching on is the rules, the laws, even the Constitution. Those are only for people like us. Unfortunately, Congress is immune. Our judges are immune. They have impunity. They do whatever they want, right?
Yeah,
That's
that's
the
gotta
real
change.
issue. And the system that we're in, it's not constitutional law. It's maritime law, right? So
Right.
Yes.
that's where we've been statutory law. We're caught in that. When you go into a courtroom, you're going onto a ship, right? That's why they have the wooden gate and you walk in, it's a docked ship and you go on and the captain of the ship, who's the judge, he makes all the rules and it's under Masonic law, right? So kid, like, you know, like that kid in Utah law school, he figured that out and he was onto it. And they can't have that, so they shot him. I think that was the real reason behind that. I think they knew who he was and who his mother was. And I think
did.
that was, I don't want to say the cops went there purposely to murder him. But I think they knew who he was. It was a heated situation. The kid ended up dying at the hands of our own, I think, government, not just the police, but the politicians that are behind that, the judge that was behind that. And we're never going to get an investigation into any of that. And that's a shame.
Oh, but they
Well-
are. They're getting an investigation
I think.
from the town next to them. Their big brother's doing the investigation.
Well, usually the, internal affairs for my police
No,
department is my
no,
police
no.
department.
No, it's just Bountiful Police right next door. So we'll check into it.
Yeah. Well, and that's where you guys are patriots because we are the news. You know, TruthStream, a lot of people come here now because we can't trust CNBC or MSN anymore. So we
Right.
go to
Well,
regular.
I just real quick to interject, I do want to hear their story while we still got them. So can you guys
Yeah.
please elaborate on?
Sure. Tell us about Kelly a little bit. Go ahead,
Please.
Trish.
Oh, gosh. So my son has been wrongfully accused. He's been, sorry, I just went from one discussion to
Okay.
another, and it's kind of hard to flip flop back. He's been in jail for 26 months now. He was given no bail. There's no evidence. They have 2 phones, a computer. They have no evidence that he has done anything. And what they're accusing him of is absolutely atrocious. The whole hearsay as evidence has got to go. The whole Me Too movement has got to stop. The whole believe all women. Now granted, there are women in situations and their lives are horribly altered and ruined because of something that happens to them. But these young girls, these women, it doesn't matter what age they are. I could go and do it. If I came to you, Kevin, and I rubbed up against you, if I got any of your DNA on me at all by shaking your hand or having one of your whiskers come off on my body, I could go straight to the police. And if they found your DNA on me, I could have you thrown in jail because I have evidence. These people have zero evidence against my son. And
you don't need evidence, just the
do
accusation.
not need evidence. This whole thing has got to stop. It is ruining lives. And the problem with this is there's no accountability anymore. Nobody is teaching their children to own up to their own issues, to their own faults. They want to blame someone else. I mean, how many people are we seeing today? They're blaming somebody else for everything that's happened in their lives. Well, what they're doing is, and they're doing it knowing that they're going to get away with it. Kelly has been accused of in a way that is, it's not only ruined his life, it's damaged mine. It's damaged his daughter that will be 2 years old next month. And he has never held her in his arms.
He's divorced now because of these
and now
girls.
the wife has divorced him because gymnastics world is a very small world. She didn't want her name associated with Kelly's name. It's a very very sad, very difficult situation. I'm sorry.
I think there's two stories here, actually. Again, the human side of it. You know, again, in the tragedy of the injustice system, you know, your personal, and again, whether we're talking innocent or guilty here, beyond that injustice system is really what I saw with Kelly. I mean, I talked about it on other shows where the plea deal, they want you to take a plea deal. When you do, everybody gets paid. Even your lawyer gets paid, the prosecutor gets paid, judge gets paid. So they push these plea deals. And how many people right now, innocent people,
he refuses to take a plea. He refuses to take a plea deal and admit to something that he is not guilty of doing. Now, the first lawyer that we hired told me, flat out told me, in Utah, he will never win in this trial. He will never win a trial in Utah. She told me that flat out. He is going to have to take a deal. And I said to her, so explain to me, you're telling me that I'm paying you $25,000 and you're telling me that my son is going to have to say that he did something that he is not guilty of doing just to get out of jail. We're talking 26 months. He has been charged, not convicted. He's never been in front of a trial jury. We finally had to hire a litigation team because the legal defense that we chose for him, the judge threw him out because they're not part of the bar. They're not bar registered, which is the British accredited registry.
But it is legal to have that representation in Utah. It is legal to have that, but he will not let it.
He will not let it happen.
Well, and this is where, again, we're talking about legal and then them just doing whatever they want.
Oh, yeah.
So we have the Sixth Amendment in the United States that, again, it's a right that every one of us has to the counsel of our choice. That's a right. Everybody has it except Kelly. Right. And it's interesting to me, again, there's the society piece where we have, again, accusations, and people should really think about that. It devastates lives. But then there's the judicial piece, which is a complete failure. I've attended hearings and I've watched it. These judges have repeated the same things over and over. It's just talking point, you're a number, next, money. And it's all about that. And Kelly is standing not only for himself, in my opinion, but for all of us. Because he didn't do it, at least that's his opinion, right, or his claim. And he's willing to stand on that, but the court is caught now, and I've seen your lawful defense has asked some tough questions. That's why they wouldn't allow him to proceed. So they keep kicking the can down the road until Kelly accepts a plea deal. They just keep him in jail. It's been 2 years already.
Quick
Austin
question, Kevin. So
Sure.
so how is it that they make more money on the whole plea deal? So okay, so you're
It's a bond.
okay.
Bond.
So
Oh.
go in. Can you explain that a little bit? Like,
Yeah, they issue bonds on these court cases. Also, they put it, basically, they trade it. They put it on the New York Stock Exchange. And here in Utah, people actually invest in these cases. They put private money in these cases.
For every case that a judge wins, he makes $70,000 to $100,000. For the prosecutor, if someone takes a plea deal, he makes $25,000 to $30,000. The attorney, whether it's a court-appointed attorney or someone that I paid $25,000 for, this was the first time. Oh, Brad's writing it out for me.
That's what they
I
are.
lied. Okay, so the judge makes 50, the prosecutor 30, and the attorney 10. Or
Each
vice,
case, each,
every plea deal that is taken.
or every
This
win.
is why they do not allow bail anymore, because they say no bail, and then that person takes a deal, pleads to something that they did not do. And when that happens, the judge makes money, the prosecutor makes money, the attorney representing
And the
them,
court of
whether
clerks
it's a
does too.
court-appointed attorney or a bought and paid for attorney, they make money.
Now, where are
And
these
it's
funds coming from?
disgusting. It's sickening.
Are these taxpayer funds? Are they?
No, there's not enough tax.
would-
That's funny too, because growing up,
It's
when I
the
got into
Q-set.
math and everybody
can-
talked about taxes running the country, I said, well, I just did a 14% blank. And I said, there's not enough people to generate that kind of money for all this stuff that's happening. No, they're using our social security and they're putting us in a bond on the New York Stock Exchange. That's what's happening. And we're
It
a
goes
trading
back to
platform.
that, where it's our name. That's why they murdered that kid. When you're born
Yes.
in the social security number and right, capital Kevin Michael Hoy, that's a stock commodity. The largest
Yeah.
commodity on the stock
Yeah.
exchange is us.
There's a number on the back of your social security number or social security card, and there is a number on the back of your birth certificate, and you are traded from the minute you are born.
Yeah, they're CUSIP
None of your-
numbers.
And if
as
you're
a
lucky
bond.
like me, when you have a warrant issued, again, bonds, I think there's 4 different bonds that come with that. They're the same thing with the charge. And then that hits the stock exchange. So they're making money off. That's the,
this is the stuff that David Straight talks about. But so my question is this: has
Right.
anyone ever went up to one of these, judges and said, "Look, here's the deal. I'm not saying you guys should do this. I know you guys make your 50 and your 30 and 20. Here's 200 grand. Get my son out of jail. Like, can we just end this shit?" I mean, not that you can do that, but this is ridiculous that they're
I bet if your name was
That
8,
for this
That
shit.
would be the attorney general that could do that.
Yeah.
Well,
I'd
maybe
say
I don't know.
That
I'm
would be a
just like,
bribe. That would be a
If you-
bribe.
if your
right,
name was
so that's a
OJ,
bribe. So there's no way around this shit.
There
No,
is.
There isn't.
No, there is. And I've seen them win in these
Okay.
courts here in Utah. Now they've been stifling it and suppressing it, but there is a way to do it. Right now, we're going to leave it at that. We had to put him back in to get him out. That's what we're going to do.
So
Right.
here's my question. They put a statute of limitations on just about everything other than murder.
And fraud.
Okay, fraud. But here's the thing, and this happened when Brett Kavanaugh was being put on the Supreme Court, and my mother and I had flown down to Florida to Disneyland just to have a mother-daughter trip before she passed away. And as we're flying home, I'm sitting next to a man, and he's looking on his computer and he's watching the Kavanaugh trials. And he looked at me and he said, how do you know, you're a woman. Are you comfortable to talk about this? And I said, well, yeah, I'm comfortable to talk about it. And he says, well, what are your thoughts on this woman coming up
40 years.
40 years later and accusing him of something that happened 40 years previous? And I said, look, for one thing, she doesn't remember what night it happened. She doesn't remember who was there, or, you know, because she says was given a date rape drug. If you've been given a date rape drug, you have no idea who did it. Now, here on the flip side, maybe this did happen to her. If it did, why didn't she go to a hospital? Why didn't she have a rape kit done? Why didn't she go to the police? Why are these women saying, oh, this happened to me, but it's hearsay? You know, if something happened to me, if something literally happened to me like that, the first thing I would do is drag my sorry ass into a police station or drag my ass down to the hospital and have a rape kit performed, because this is serious. And the only way that they're ever going to catch these people is if there is DNA evidence. Now, these people who say, oh, this man did this to me, oh, this man did this to me, and now these men are sitting in jail. Kelly is not the first person that this has happened to. There's a kid that's been accused of kidnapping a woman, and it started out, he got horny, he went and had sex with a hooker, and he didn't have money to pay for her. And so, you know, and yeah, we laugh about it.
Yeah.
But now he's in prison because he took a deal, and the judge changed the deal in the hearing. Yeah. He changed the deal.
He changed the sentence. It was supposed to be probation.
He changed the deal.
Yeah, it's supposed to be probation, and put him in 5 years in the pen instead. Yeah. Right there.
Because he didn't pay a hooker, and they charged him with kidnapping.
The Kavanaugh case is an interesting too, now that we know the outcome of that, right? And does Mr. Kavanaugh get a sorry, our bad? No.
Okay, but why is it that the Supreme Court has not said, no, hearsay is not evidence? No, you cannot come up 40 years later and say that somebody did this. There's got to be a statute of limitations on it. Honestly, if these things are really, really happening to these people and they don't go to the hospital or they don't go to the police right away, you know what? They have an obligation to protect themselves. To protect themselves, these women have an obligation to protect themselves by going and getting this DNA evidence on record.
You know, I want to defend like a lot of the victims out there too, because I know a lot of people, you go into massive trauma, like you regress from society. You don't want to go out. You don't want to talk. There's a shame involved, which is always weird to me. I don't quite get that, but. Because it wasn't you. If this is you, if you're a victim, I mean, it's not your fault. It's your attacker's fault. It's not you to have anything to do with that. But I think a lot of people like almost black it out. So sometimes it's years later before this comes to memory. But again, it should be a lot more than hearsay. I know
40 years
in the same, you get 10 of them all at the same time, right? And they all got a bank account with the Clintons. Like, that's what I'm saying. The setups are there, and that's unfortunate because only the accusation. This is one of the only charges when you're talking about sex crimes. I mean, I'd rather be accused of murder because it's probably more acceptable in society, right? But it's the only thing where you don't need a conviction to destroy somebody. The accusation alone, and I'll tell you, it stays, doesn't matter even if you beat it, it's with you for the rest of your life. There's going to be people who you have to explain it to, regardless of the outcome. So that's the, again, I taught my kids, not to lie, but kids are, everybody lies, every one of us, right? At some point or another, whether it's a little white lie or these, but I can't imagine making a lie like that one that you're going to completely devastate somebody's lives.
That's horrible.
But,
well, yeah, some of these laws are getting a little bit outrageous, like regret after the fact could constitute rape. Situations like that where, well, they were drinking, her judgment was impaired or whatever, and then later she decided it was regret, and then this guy's looking at he thought he was on a date, but apparently a crime, took place. So,
Yeah.
Well, there's
getting a
two
little bit.
pieces here. That's what I said. There's the society piece, which is what we're talking about now, but then the judicial piece and what happens when they get your paws on you, because it's all about the money. And again, it's the same thing. You go in, under one charge on a Friday, you got $10,000 bail. Well, you don't want to post bond because you'd have to go get arraigned on Monday. You'd have to pay all over again. So you do the weekend, right? And again, $5,000 bond will say it's $500, get out of jail. But then when you get to jail on Monday, they raised it to $125,000 bond, and they added 6 more charges. And you're like, I've been in jail. I haven't done anything, but they stack that debt against you. So now you're facing 150 years and $8 million in fine. Or if you sign for these two, we'll only give you 6 months and we'll only do this, right?
Yeah.
And like, how many people are scared, literally terrified
Many,
into
I'm
taking
sure.
that plea deal because they didn't do it? But man, I'm looking at 150 years. So you end up taking you got to weigh that. And in Kelly's case, and I'm so proud of him, he said, no, I'm going to stand here. That's why I said this could be any one of us. And people who are interested, I think you still got free Kelly Brown, right? Free Kelly Brown info.
Yeah,
Kelly,
because we've hired a litigation team, they've kind of
Put it on hold.
they've kind of put that on hold. It's still going, but I'm gonna have to go off because hey, my son is calling me from jail.
Well, thank
One
you
of the
so
things-
much for being arguably
been
the
a
best part of the
pleasure.
show.
Yeah.
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 I was gonna say, it might be interesting, actually. Maybe we could set it up. I know I talked about this with Guy too, Brad,
Hey,
but
hold on.
maybe we
Hey,
can get an
Kelly,
interview.
say hi to the world.
Hello, world.
Hi, Kelly.
Crazy out there.
You're on TruthStream.
Podcast.
We're talking all about you, Kelly, and we got a lot of support and fans outside that are thinking about you, and we love you, man. Hang tight, and you stay standing strong, brother.
Yeah, I'm trying every single day. Sometimes it's just minute by minute, right?
Man,
I
we're just hearing your story, and our heart goes out to you. I wish there was more that we could do, but I think this whole system has to be fixed, and you're a very good example of that.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy what they can do to you with nothing. So
Well, and
Sure.
he's doing this really because not only for his own self-preservation and his self-respect and his name, but he has a daughter that he wants to be able to be a father to. And with any kind of sex offender, his ex-wife, sorry, can do anything to try and keep him from ever having any visitation with her. So not only is he fighting for himself, but he's fighting for a little girl that doesn't even know he exists. And talk about heart-wrenching.
Well, he would feel like he's in prison on the outside anyway if he can't see his daughter.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It wouldn't matter whether he's in there or out.
Wow.
Our heart and prayers go out to you, Kelly. We really do. And anybody that's watching too. I mean, letters, they get letters at jail, I believe, right? You have to do a postcard specifically, but
Postcard
we'll
from
do
the
links.
post office. So
I
yeah,
love you. Thumbs up.
Hey,
Hang in there,
guys,
Kelly.
it's been an absolute pleasure. I really appreciate you. I really hope that people will take this to heart and do whatever they can to seriously think about finding a way to defend yourself. Have something to defend yourself, because the world is a shit show right now. And the only person that you can count on is you. You can't count on the police. They take too long. Sometimes in places they don't even show up, or they're too busy, doing something else. You have to be able to take care of yourself and your children. That's the most important thing. Anyway, I'm gonna go.
And they've
You go
taken
talk
that
to your
out.
son,
so
man.
much.
They've taken that out of their service. They will not take a bullet for you. They will not protect you now.
It's actually law.
Protect and
It's
Yeah,
sent to
it's-
the
they're
Supreme
out.
Court. A police officer does not have to put themselves into a deadly, life-threatening situation. So if there's an armed shooting going on in your school, it's at the officer's discretion, and I actually agree with that. I think it should be at the officer's discretion, but in the back end of that, we need to hire officers that are brave enough that they're going to go in there and protect our, right? That's the law enforcement piece that we need in there. But when it comes down, push comes to shove, you are responsible for you, period.
Right.
And
Anything you
same
guys
thing,
want to say in closing? This has been a
long.
heartfelt, emotional show for sure.
I know I
Okay,
don't need a piece
thing.
of paper to tell me that I have the right to defend myself, my loved ones, or my property. So I will leave it right there. I love you guys. Joe, Scott, thanks for having me. Tell Trish thanks too, Brad. You want to
I
say something?
will.
Brad,
There's
please.
one more thing real quick about the Utah deal. I won't say, people are gonna know where it was. There was a football game Friday night. The winning team coach said, "Hey guys, great, we won. Now if you're gonna go have sex with your girlfriends, if they're Mormon, you better not, because tomorrow they're gonna cry rape." He was fired instantly
Well,
for telling the truth.
Wow.
It's really bad here.
Good grief.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had no idea. We used to live in Utah. a while back.
Yeah, I have
That's just
friends that are
crazy.
there. But,
Well, you know, I'm really looking forward to playing your version of golf together.
on a lighter note,
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, well, they've shut it down since then, but we can still do our own thing out here.
and thanks
Well,
for
you sent us-
Scott a few of your your examples here.
Yeah, I got a real kick out of these. That's for you don't see those every day.
You
No,
sent
you
us
don't.
all the bullets.
an
Now we
honor.
need the guns.
There's
That's
only
what I
one
said.
place.
Yeah,
Those
yeah.
are coming
One
next.
place. Yeah, and thanks. Now, Guy, I got to make some for Guy. He's like, I don't have any.
Well,
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 I
I'm
got the
still
real
working
thing.
on the gun part.
He's got the real thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
right,
not
Tom.
all.
Thank-
Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much
joining
for
us.
Thank you.
everything and for throwing it all on the line for us so people can understand more about our world and the situation, etc. So we appreciate you.
You bet. Thank you too.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
All right.